Welcome to your arithmetic zone, and for the second part of our CSS video, we're going to take the website that we modified with CSS in the last video and make it more presentable, similar to the part 2 of the HTML video. So like I said, CSS is responsible for the aesthetics of a website. Remember when I compared HTML to the skeletal system? Well, CSS is like the muscular system because it's responsible for how a website looks. I mean, without any muscles, without any skin, we'd be all bones. Anyway, back to Visual Studio Code. If you check the left-hand side, you can see that I actually added new car images. This one and that one, in addition to this one. So I can better demonstrate what we're going to cover today in CSS. But first, let's add these images into our HTML code. So right here, where it says the IMG tag, we're going to copy this whole line and we're going to make two more. If we save and then go back to our website, we can see that each image is on its own line. But why is that? Well, it's because we added this BR tag in between each image, and we're going to actually get rid of those. So if we get rid of those and then we save, we see that the images are all on one line, including the link. But when I included the tags for things like, say, paragraph or the headers, you see how they just take up the whole line? That's because tags like those are considered block tags where they take up the whole line, while tags like image and A are considered inline where they do not make a new line and they just stack on the line that they currently on. And this can make formatting difficult when you deal with image tags that have different properties with lines than paragraph tags. So a way to resolve this is by using something called Flexbox. And this is where the div that I demonstrated earlier in the HTML videos becomes so important. So essentially, we're going to put a div right here, and we're going to move this closing tag so that it's in between all the images and the A tags. And if we save, we're not going to see any difference yet. Now, the position did shift a little, and that's because div is considered a block tag. And so basically it added that extra space because it's inside of a div block. But the power of the div will truly be demonstrated with Flexbox. So before actually we do this, we need to give that div we just put in its own ID. So we're gonna call it Flexbox. Save. And now in our CSS file, we're gonna specify Flexbox, put in the brackets, and we're gonna put in display::flex. Just by doing that, look at that. It completely changed the formatting of the images and the text, and also changed the formatting of that paragraph tag. So I need to go back and see why. It's because I actually included the paragraph tag with the images and the A tag. I didn't mean to, but honestly that's okay. But you see how everything is now on one line, even though previously the images and the link were on their own line, while the paragraph is on its own line above? Well, because we set the display of the whole div, which we marked with the ID as Flex essentially simplifies the process, and it puts everything that's inside of that div that I marked in one line. But, what if I don't want it in one line? Well, I can change that using some attributes. So one of them is called flex direction. Flex direction right now, I believe it's in row. Row is the default, but say I want it in a column, I can change it to column. And now, as you can see, the paragraph, the images, and the link are all in one column. And something that's really cool is I can even reverse this order by writing in dash and then reverse. Save, And now the link comes in first, then the images, and then the p tag. And then I can also do this with the row. So row reverse. So now you can see the link comes first, then the images, and then the paragraph. So I'm going to put it back in the row and save. But, you know, this is pretty smushed in. And not to mention, I want it in the middle of the page. So how would I do that? Well, notice how the main axis is in the horizontal direction. And when you want to deal with changes of items in the main direction, you would use justify content. So if I want everything in the middle, I would use center after justify content. Now everything is centered. But I want to create space as well. So instead of using center, I should probably use space around. And that creates space evenly between the edges of the screen and each item inside of that div container. So, using our knowledge of Flexbox and CSS, let's make this website actually look presentable. So the first thing I notice and I want to change is that I'm noticing that a lot of my tags, a lot of my items, they're like too close to the edge of the screen. Like, look at this text right here, parts of a car. It's like all the way at the end. And I don't want that. So if I want to change the space between all these tags, I would probably want to go into the body and then change the margins, specifically margin left and margin right. So let's make both of them 100 pixels to create space. And that helped out a bit, but I think it could be a little thinner, 200 pixels. And wow, that worked out pretty nicely. And you know, I kind of want to make all the text in the center as well. So in the body tag, text aligned should probably be center. Well, okay, that helped. But these list items, I don't think those should be in the center. I think those should stay where they were. So how did I specify these lists? I used OL, and then I also used UL. So what I can actually do, instead of making a class, I can just put OL and then comma UL to specify both of those tags. And then text align left semicolon. And we put them back in the left. I think these titles can remain the same, but I think the borders are a little too thick. So where did I write the borders? Right here, 10 pixels. Let's reduce that to 4 and save. Alright. And, you know, let's make the borders rounded. So I'm going to use something called border radius, 10 pixels. And basically, it's going to make the borders slightly rounded. And, you know, that looks much better. Now, you see this Comic Sans text? That looks horrible. Let's just get rid of that. But what if for some godforsaken reason, I don't want to completely get rid of it? What I can do is highlight this line and then do Control/ and turn it into a comment. Now, comments in code have no effect on the functionality of code. They're just there to keep some text you may need or someone else looking at your code may need. And you can also do this in HTML. For HTML, if you were to do it, say, this line, do Control/, it would add this exclamation mark and these dashes at the ends to specify that it's a comment. So, and for CSS, it uses the slash and asterisk signs. But anyway, I saved that, and because this has no effect on the code, it should no longer be in that font. Anyway, why cars are cool? I believe that was H1, right? Yeah, I think that text size should be a little bigger. It's actually font size. Let's make it 50 pixels, semicolon. Why cars are cool. Alright, that looks pretty good. This click me, I don't like how it's to the top of all those images. I think it should be like in the middle. But if I want to change the vertical position of this whole div container, I wouldn't want to use justify content, because justify content refers to the main axis, which is horizontal. This is the vertical axis. This is the secondary axis. So instead of using justify content, I'm going to use align items. And if I want this to be centered properly, I would use something called baseline and then semicolon, save. And now everything's slightly centered. The images are a little to the top, but it's okay. They look much better than they used to. Now you see this link, I kind of want to make it look more like a button. So we could do that by taking the A tag and then giving it a lot of attributes. Let's say change the background color. Let's make it different. Let's make it purple. Let's make the text, or rather, yeah, the text color, which is just color, white. It's going to need some padding, so 10 pixels to make it a little larger. And then border radius, 10 pixels to make it look rounded. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good. Let's make the font a little bolder using font weight and then bold. And then let's get rid of that underlining font by using text decoration and then setting that to none. Looking like an actual button. But you know, when I hover over it, I wouldn't really notice that it would actually do anything unless I notice that my cursor turns into that finger. So I wanted to do something while I hover over it, and what you can do is have a separate tag right here, do A, and then use a colon and then hover to specify that when you hover over this specific element on the website, let's make the opacity 0.5, similar to the RGBA tag. So now if I hover over it, the opacity lowers a bit. It's a little transparent, and you can tell that it's a button. If I click on it, it does take me to that Toyota website. Anyway, I think that's it. Obviously, I could do a whole lot more to make the website look cleaner, but I think I did a pretty good job of showing you what you can do. And honestly, just by using your knowledge of putting things you want in its own box in a div, and then using that in CSS, and then using the concept of Flexbox, I think you can definitely make some appealing looking websites even at this early stage. But next time, we're going to be putting our skills of HTML and CSS to the ultimate test by utilizing a navigation bar and making multiple web pages. So anyway, I'll see you guys next time, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.